shiver. Goalkeepers, nervous strikers, they'll deliver. Crowd roars erupted, you can feel the quake. 80 we never move, brother, Lou.
Chelsea news. Big Chelsea news. Big Chelsea news. So apparently Chelsea are interested in the services of Mike Mignon, French number one, as well as AC Milan number one. So that's one of the big stories we'll be talking about today, in addition to others as well. In addition to others as well. So big stories to talk about. So first of all, what do you think about Chelsea's reported interest in Mike Mignon? Mike Mignon. What do you think about Chelsea's interest in him? Is it something that you like? Is it something that you like? Is it the sort of goalkeeper or links that you like to see Chelsea being linked to, or being linked with our players you like to see Chelsea being linked to? For me, 100%, yes, exactly. This is the kind of sort of players you want to come to Chelsea to provide that instant leadership, that provide that instant, that can come in and perform from day one. And for me, it's 100% an upgrade on Robert Sanchez. So you don't even need me to tell you, he's an absolute upgrade on Sanchez, and he had that winning pedigree. He won the Ligue 1 title while he played for Lille. Also won the Scudetto with AC Milan. So he had that pedigree. Plus, he just has 1 year left on his contract. I think he currently earns about 60 odd thousand euros. So that I think that falls within blue coal, clear lake capital, their sort of payment wage structure, philosophy, whatever you want to call it. So for me, I think that's good news. Hopefully they don't tank this. I'll just share my screen in a minute, and then we can talk through this bit of news so far. So I'll share my screen right now, and bring it. Yeah, so that's it. So according to Fabrizio Romano, it says more on Mike Maignan, Chelsea exclusive story. Understand contacts have started also with Enzo Maresca appreciating the French goalkeeper as ideal option for his tactical approach. Chelsea are on it. The manager has approved Maignan. Maignan is a key target. So for me, I would say 100%. This is the kind of interest I'd like to see. This is the kind of signings I want Chelsea to make, because you want signings that can come into the club and immediately change the way just change the trajectory of things at the club. Because Robert Sanchez, for me, I'm sure you as well will agree, he's not been the best. He's had his moments, in the Conference League, had moments in that Nottingham Forest game that Chelsea played, the last game of the season. That's one of the English Premier League season, and some other games as well. But he hasn't pulled up any trees. He hasn't held down that position. And as well, you had the likes of Jorgensen coming in. Some of us thought possibly he could actually challenge and show that he was indeed better, or he is indeed better than Robert Sanchez. But none of that at all. So for me, Mike Maignan comes in. Robert Sanchez, you're free to go. You're free to go 100%. You are free to go, Robert Sanchez. Mike Maignan comes in with such gravitas, comes in with such pedigree, and I would like to see him at Chelsea. Hopefully, this is not scooped. What are your thoughts and opinions on a deal for Mike Maignan? And we'll come back to that quickly, but also have to talk about this. Jadon Sancho, reportedly, he will be heading back to Manchester United. I think the reports were that both parties, that the club and player, failed to reach an agreement with respect to his salaries. And the reports were Chelsea expected Jadon Sancho, or wanted Jadon Sancho to take a significant cut in his wages. I think it was 300 something thousand. So I'll just share my screen in a minute. I'll read through the article and then we'll have a discussion about it. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the chat and let's go. So I'll just share my screen in a minute right now. And we go here. Jadon Sancho sent back to just sent back to bring that up and then I'll read through it now. So Jadon Sancho set to return to Manchester United after Chelsea failed to agree personal terms on a permanent deal. A source has told ESPN Chelsea will be forced to pay £5 million, that's $6.7 million penalty to break their initial loan agreement with Manchester United, which contained an obligation to buy Sancho for a fee of around £25 million. That is if Chelsea, finish above 13th. So Chelsea have to pay the penalty. Probably they said, okay, yeah, we're willing to pay the penalty, and then, we'll pay the penalty and we will let Sancho go back as opposed to paying him over 300,000, 250,000 pounds a week. Now, fair play, because one thing for me with Jadon Sancho, I think this is something that we have to unpeel a bit. We have to unpeel this a bit. Now, the first thing is fair play to the club holding on to supposed philosophy and idea and wanting everyone to be within a particular salary range. Okay, fair play in that regard. And the second thing I'll say as well is Jadon Sancho, while I like his profile of winger, and I think he brings something different to Chelsea. He is not your prototypical, winger that can run in behind, have that pace to stretch teams. His superpower is getting the ball at his feet, and then once he has that ball under his spell, he can make any fullback look stupid. He can make a set of defenders look out of place once he has that ball on his feet. And for me, I was of the feeling that he could bring something different to the pitch. While you have your Madueke, you have your Netos, and even if you go on to sign a Gittins, they're kind of similar because they're pace-based wingers. He's more a control-based winger, and he can, he would be able to bring something special, especially when you're playing up against teams that would defend deep and play with a low block. Players like your Jadon Sancho would be able to run at defenders and beat them, creating openings for himself and for others. Now, for me, while this has been done right now, and possibly he will be going back, let's see what happens. I think this provides an opportunity for Chelsea to say, Manchester City, you haven't yet completed the deal for Ryan Cherky. We can go and get that guy because Ryan Cherky, he falls within the wage structure of Clear Lake and Blueco, and then as well, his salary as well will fall within their range. The transfer fee isn't that high, about 20 odd million pounds. So everything should align perfectly. But now, who knows? Man City probably would have offered him quadruple his salary. Now, that's all nice and well, but I have to speak about this. If Chelsea really wants to go far, really wants to win, really has the intention of winning titles, really has that intention of being dominant in European football, then this style of everyone, no matter what you've done for any club in the past, if you're coming to our club, you must come in and earn at the level of Cole Palmer at the most or lower. Then you will never win anything. You will never win anything. And then even with the players you have presently, your Cole Palmer and the rest, when it gets to a certain point, wouldn't you be willing to increase their salaries significantly to get them to stay at the club? Or would you then just be willing to say, we'll let them go, we're going to sell them off, and that's fine? Now, like I said before, I don't want Chelsea to become like how Arsenal used to be, where the club sold the fans absolute rubbish PR. Oh, if we pay top dollar for top players, then that means we're buying the league. We want to do it the right way. We must get 18-year-olds from the academy. That's the only 18-year-olds from the academy or will sign, and 19-year-old from an obscure league somewhere. For me, that is not what I want. Now, I get the fact that Jadon Sancho possibly the willing to take maybe £100,000 or 120,000 pounds a week, and I just feel like there are different ways to look at this. He's not a pacey sort of winger, so you get why maybe he's not the top priority, but he would have brought something different. And I think if it turns out that Chelsea will be unable to sign him, what I think should happen is they should look for a Ryan Cherky, look for an option, someone that has that trickery on the ball, someone that has that ability, on the ball to unlock defenses with skill, not so much of pace, but can run out defenses and beat 2-3 players. Jadon Sancho had that ability, but for now, both parties were unfortunately unable to meet, their salary and wage demands of Jadon Sancho. So apparently that's it. But one thing I also want to say, whilst you said, okay, Jadon Sancho, we're not willing to pay you £250,000, we probably want to pay you £100,000, and then both parties have not agreed, and Jadon Sancho most likely will be going back to Manchester United. All this sort of monies you're saving, you have in mind as Chelsea Football Club that, okay, I have one or two marquee signings that we have to make that we would be willing to break the bank for? Is that mindset, or is just we want to save on salaries, we don't want to break a wage structure? Because I still feel Liam Delap is in the building. Hopefully, his second stage of his medical will be completed soon, and then the announcement can be made and everything will be official. But I still think the experienced goal scorer at least to be in front of Liam Delap for the next 2 seasons so he can grow and develop without crazy pressure. But some folks are saying Liam Delap loves the pressure. He wants to take that number 9 shirt. He wants to be the main guy. He's ready for it. Now that's fine, and we'll see how that shakes out. Then we go back to the talk about Maignan. What is your take on Maignan? Is he someone you want to see at the club? I want to see him at the club. And at least I'm happy that from the look of things, the club is willing to break sort of this age under 24, under 25 sort of policy to sign him because he's 29 years old. I think that's really important because he will then bring that leadership onto the pitch, into the dressing room, and he brings that winning mentality as well. Because if you play for AC Milan, no matter how bad they always demand winning. The fans demand winning, the board, the ownership, they demand winning. So when you bring that winning mentality into the dressing room, it would help this young team. And especially he's won the Scudetto, he's also won the League or title. Anyway, I just want to check something and then bring this back on here. We'll bring this back on here in a minute. Okay, yeah. So I just want to check a few stats and then we can go. So I think he would be really, really. So what are your thoughts and opinion on Maignan? Is this someone you wanted to come in? I, for one, didn't see this coming because I had my focus more on Mike Penders. Mike Penders coming in to be the number one, to be like Thibaut Courtois 2.0. But from the looks of things, Chelsea probably interested in Maignan, and we'll be looking to sell Robert Sanchez, and maybe Jorgensen could be sold as well. And you could have Maignan as a number 2. But for me, quite frankly, I would not really want my minion to come in to be a number two. If he's not going to play, if the club feels he's not ready, I think what should happen is he should be either loaned back to Ghent or loaned to Strasbourg. Then that would then mean Petrovic would have to be sold. That's what the implication would be. You know, it would mean that he would have to be sold. Petrovic would have to be sold, and then the money is coming that would be brought in, possibly will be used to. So yeah, this starts I'm looking for 2004, 2005 for my minion. So I'll just share the screen in a minute. I will see his stats. So for my minion, he has played 37 matches played in the Italian Serie A, 37 matches, conceded 39, 13 clean sheets. That's not the worst record in the world. Played 3,295 minutes. And then in the Champions League, he played 10 matches, conceded 12, and just one clean sheet. Coppa Italia, one clean sheet. UEFA Nations League, that's for France, 3 clean sheets. So to have 13 clean sheets in the Serie A isn't such a bad record. But I think for me, what he brings, or the what makes me really excited to see him at Chelsea, isn't so much of course, his goalkeeping record, his application, and he's a far better keeper than Robert Sanchez. I think he should be at least the top 7 goalkeepers in the world right now, top 5 goalkeepers in the world right now. So that is the primary reason. But the other reasons I think are even equally as important for me. That winning mentality will bring into the dressing room. That leadership he brings into the dressing room, because I think he captained AC Milan and he's captained Lille as well while he was there. So I think this is something that will really, really be helpful for this young team. Because just as I said with Victor Osimhen, you know, someone that can come into the club, come into the team and bring that leadership, and bring that leadership into the team. So for me, 100%, I back that 1,000%. So I'd like to know your personal opinion on Mike Maignan being Chelsea's new goalkeeper. Rather, your opinion on Chelsea's reported interest on Mike Maignan. And then Jadon Sancho, what are your thoughts and opinion on him? Because from the looks of things, he's headed back to Manchester United. And there's one bit of transfer news I want to talk about, although it was something that was completed last season, and then player was allowed to go back, or rather remain with Las Palmas. Dario Esugo coming to Chelsea. That then brings, the midfield options, at least that central defensive midfield options, to about 5 players. 5 players looking at or fighting for 2 spots. 5 players looking for 2 spots. So, what are your thoughts and opinions on that, especially with regard to, Enzo Maresca's or insistence on inverting players? What do you think about that? Mike Maignan, Enzo Maresca, we all know he is indeed in love with inverting his fullbacks. So, what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on Mike Maignan on what's called? You have Dario Estugo, he's just been signed to 2020, to a contract that lasts to 2023. Andre Santos coming back and will be part of the World Club Cup team. Lavia already in the team. Caicedo already in the team. Leslie Gochuku to come back and join the team. So you now have 5 players fighting for 2 slots. So do you still think it makes sense to predominantly invert the fullbacks? Because that's what Enzo Maresca has been doing or did throughout the season that just ended. Do you think it's something that should be continued with? For me, I don't see the need. Every now and again, you could have your fullbacks tucked into midfield to make things a bit more compact. But with this level of, or this number of, central midfield talents, I don't see the need to constantly play your fullbacks out of position. I don't quite see the need. So, to know what your thoughts and opinions are, let me know in the chat. And then there's one other bit of transfer news that we need to talk about, and that is Hugo Ekitike. Reportedly, personal terms have been agreed between Chelsea and Hugo Ekitike, but the club, what's it called now? The clubs are still sort of in interactions and dialogue with respect to the transfer fee. While Frankfurt, they placed 84 million pound. I say there's a 84 million pound request from Frankfurt transfer fee from Frankfurt from any interested party, from any interested club. If you're looking to get service of Hugo Ekitike, you must cough up 84 million pounds. Now, some reports have been that they will possibly be willing to negotiate and probably drive the price down a bit to maybe 70 million pounds or 65 million pounds. Who knows? So what is your opinion on that? Now, if Chelsea signed Hugo Ekitike, is this someone you look at and say, yes, this is the striker we want, that's who we want here and now? That's the kind of player that we want, that's the kind of striker that we want in the building. Now, there's some other reports saying Liam Delap and Jackson would be fighting for that number 9 position as an out-and-out striker, while Hugo Ekitike would be sort of like a different profile of striker that can sort of come from deep or play out wide and things like that. So my own opinion about all this is, if you are even going to think about paying 65 million pounds, 70 million pounds for Hugo Ekitike, a 22-year-old that will still have to come to the club and be given one more year, couple of years to come good, why not get an experienced, established striker that will come in day one and get you those goals? So another thing I think as well is, while Chelsea may not be looking to actually sell Jackson, I still think they possibly will be open to selling him, because if you have your Liam Delap, you've just invested 30 million pounds on or in just this season, I don't think you keep him on the bench, especially when the strikers you have in and around him are at best his level. So Jackson, possibly, would he want to play second fiddle, to a Liam Delap, or would he be looking to leave? That's something that needs to be considered. So back to Hugo Ekitike, for me, I still don't see him as that guy that Chelsea needs because of his profile. Definitely, he has bags of ability. He has a high ceiling, but he's still a lot of potential. Now, the thing is, a lot of Chelsea fans are ignoring what we all complained and cried about all through the season. We all complained about having no box presence. We all complained about we have crosses coming into the box, no one to finish up those chances. Now, Hugo Ekitike, for all that he is good for, he isn't that type of striker, that will come alive in the box, that is an aerial threat. He is 6'3", I think, 6'2", 6'3", but sometimes players are very tall, but that doesn't automatically mean that they are these players with enormous aerial threat. So, and he is not that kind of player. Now, he looks, when you watch the highlights, beautiful to watch and all that. But also something you notice, he isn't that kind of player that can, that plays for that physical contact, that plays for that bump and grind that you face in the Premier League. You just have to say it. For me, if you've gotten an experienced striker, not just any 30-year-old, 35-year-old, an experienced striker like a 24, 25-year-old, 26-year-old that has production as well, like your Osimhen, like your Victor Gyökeres, then all these other players you sign in would then make sense. Then if you sign in a Gyökeres, it then would make sense. If you're signing a Liam Delap, it would make sense. If you're signing a Hugo Ekitike, it would make sense. because you have that guy that is ready to come in now, no excuses given, to deliver immediately and instantly. But when you go sign two strikers or two forwards who are still raw, then you have that thing of you're writing off the season again. And why it's a bit frustrating for me is one, ever since Bluco, clearly, whatever they call themselves, took over Chelsea, everyone and his dog knew that Chelsea needed a striker, for sure. Everyone knew that. We all knew that. Even when Tato Fofana was at the club, Potter refused to use him. So everyone was aware Chelsea needs a striker. And then we've had 2 seasons and a bit more pass, no striker in sight. And then last season especially, we've seen what the lack of a striker who's not just a box striker, who has an overall game, but really comes alive in the box, what it cost Chelsea last season. Because Jackson showed clear lack of awareness in the box, clear, lack of inbox IQ. He showed it last season. And now you have an opportunity to get that striker that you've always wanted. Champions League used to be the excuse, but now for whatever reason, you're going with a very, very young Liam Delap that still has a high ceiling. Nobody knows what he will become. Nobody's sure because he doesn't have the body of work to show that. Yes, at this level, I've been at this team that was chasing a league title. I was with them. I scored 20 plus goals. I scored 25 goals in that season. It had helped them win that title or push them really, really close to winning the title. And then you're going for a Hugo Ekitike that isn't even that guy that matches that sort of profile. So with all these things, it's almost like, okay, we're taking this risk. We're signing Ekitike. We're signing Liam Delap. We're not really appreciating what we've been through. And you have fans who champion everything. I tell you, Chelsea could be linked to a tortoise right now or a rabbit right now, and some Chelsea fans will be bring. So for me, I'll acknowledge talent. Liam Delap, talent. Hugo Ekitike, talent. But is it what Chelsea needs right now? I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure that's what Chelsea needs. That's something we need to look at. I'm not quite sure that's sort of that's the sort of player that Chelsea needs. While Liam Delap he meets the profile, physicality, pace, aggression, very decent in the air, he is still raw. Ekitike doesn't match that profile. He is a different sort of player. I think we should be going for an experienced player in this team, for this team, because what I want to avoid is all the excuses that since clearly Bluco took over Chelsea that we've been given. That we've been given, which is it's a young team, it's a young team. At some point, the team should come of age. So Wira says Delap and Giyu good striker profiles to take us to domestic cup double. Yeah, that's possible. That is possible. To win the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup. But the question I would ask Wira is this: are you willing to write off the season in terms of Premier League? Are you willing to write off the season and say, okay, Premier League this year, we're not really fighting for it. That's it. That's done. We're keeping it aside. And then we'll possibly win the FA Cup and League Cup, and then maybe go a bit far in the Champions League, and that's it. Are we willing to do that? The lap offers hold up play and area threat. Good. Giyu offers link up. I think he also offers area threat as well. McGee is taller than he looks. McGee is actually 6'1" or 6'2", so he's actually taller than he looks. He's one of those players that, one of those people that look like he's 5'9" when he's 6'2". So he's also tall. At least I know he's 6 foot plus. So he's also tall. So and he can provide similar things to what the lab provides. So essentially for me, McGee is, he is a Delap without opportunities. Because if you give McGee opportunities, I think he would sort of match Delap's numbers because he brings that physicality, he brings that tenacity as well. So I think if he was given those opportunities, he probably would have matched Delap's sort of numbers. But then again, he's wanting to say he's able to match it. He's wanting to say he's able to match it is quite another thing for him to actually come on the pitch and match it. Now, so fair play. If you have these two strikers and you say, yeah, we are going to use them as that are going to help us win two domestic cup, domestic cups, i.e., League Cup and the FA Cup. Okay, but then are we saying for this season we are going to let them develop this season, so we're not fighting to win the Premier League title this season? When I say this season, I mean 2025-2026 season. I'm ready to say, okay, no, let this season be a write-off. Champions League, let this be a write-off while these strikers develop. Are we willing to do that? So for me, that's why I still think whilst you have this fresh, or rather these raw strikers, that have huge ceilings, you should still have strikers, at least a striker who is experienced that can bring that leadership into the pitch, that is ready to deliver now, step on the pitch and deliver right now, just like Maignan. Because if Chelsea is able to get Maignan, I'll be so happy because he's that kind of a signing, although in the different end of the pitch, where he comes onto the pitch, immediately you're getting the top performer. You're getting the top performer that is coming in and is going to perform immediately. No excuses. And so I would have taken a Clivert or Wissa, who are more ruthless finishers, and I had my eyes on Dovbyk. But when we have our director looking at Mudryk, not Lookman, we've got to be realistic. Now, yeah, one thing with the directors is almost like they're playing kind of FIFA. You know what I mean? It's almost like they believe in let's get 3, 4, 5 players, and maybe one of them will come good, instead of getting one quality player and paying him what he deserves. It look like we will get 5 players and pay those 5 players maybe £70 or £85,000 each per week, and then and then they think they're saving money that way. I still feel this team needs a spine of experience. Experience doesn't mean you have to be 30 years. You could be 26 or 25 with tons of experience. As long as you've played lots of games, you've been in Champions League, championship runs. You've been in championship runs. Maybe you've won the title or you've come a close second. So that means you're ready to go to the next level. When the next level, which means winning. So whereas there was no way we are going to bring Vlahovic. So I think the lab could blossom into that mode of striker, and if it fits with our director's vision of saving pennies with long-term contracts. And well, saving pennies. One thing I want to say is this. I don't know how many of us remember Arsenal. Remember Arsenal when they were doing this thing, or we're saving pennies, or want to save money. We don't want to buy the league. If we spend more than £30 million, then that means we're buying the league. Oh, Chelsea's buying the league. Real Madrid are buying the league. Manchester United buying the league. Man City buying the league. We don't want to spend money. After years and years and years and years of doing that, they've won nothing. And teams that were behind them have caught up to them, i.e. your Man Cities have caught up to them and have passed them. So for me, I accept that not every player, in fact, I do not like the situation where an 18-year-old from the academy signs his first contract, £100,000. It's a 19-year-old just signed, maybe from Brazil, £250,000 already. I believe that if someone has top level, elite level body of work, won league titles, scored tons of goals in Europe, back to back to back, has that winning mentality, I feel if you need to get that player because you want to win, you should be able to say, normally we pay the regular players, let's say, I don't know, £100,000 a week, but because we're going for this guy, this top guy that has a body of work of winning and scoring lots of goals, let's give him £200,000. Special, just like any business, any company. If you have someone in a company that just does admin work, right? Maybe he earns, I don't know, let's say 1,500 a week, I mean a month. And then you have this guy that, as long as his name is associated with any business, that business gets to be £10 million a year. Now you're not going to say, oh, because we have this our structure, everybody must be on, under £2,000 a month. You that can bring £10 million a year to, to this company, and we're going to still pay you £2,000 a month. You must accept it. So yeah, we have to be looking at the caliber of players that are coming in offer that. So whereas okay, I feel like as long as Delap and McGill helps to spread the goals around, we will be okay. We need to stop the reliance. We need to stop the reliance on what? We need to stop reliance on Palmer to produce. Now, that's the thing. To even help Palmer, a top level striker like your Eucharist, like your Victor Osimhen, will help Palmer a lot because Palmer plays a lot of good passes, a lot of good balls that Jackson has been missing. They will score those chances. Now, sometimes Palmer plays passes that are not really that good, but strikers like Osimhen, Gyökeres will score those chances. We have crosses that flash into the box. Someone that Jackson would miss, someone like Osimhen will be there, he will score it. Because Victor Osimhen puts his head in places where some strikers would dread to put their legs in. Now, it's nice to say if McGill and Delap can spread the goals around, that would help. That's if they can come good, that's fine. But I have this feeling that if Delap comes in, as it seems like that he will come in, I have this feeling that McGill probably will be loaned. Probably will be loaned because there's a feeling I'm getting. I'm thinking Chelsea may want to do a swap deal, get the mega, maybe loan him to Frankfurt to help reduce the sort of monetary demands, and then get Hugo Ekitike in the building. But I just think possibly that's something they would want to do. So whereas says if we wanted to build on an experienced core of players, we wouldn't be replacing Kovacic and Silva with the raw and unproven potential of Tosin and Enzo. Well, Tosin is not young like that. He's about 26, 27. But I get what you mean. I get what you mean. But at some point, you need to get those experienced people in the building. Because the way the Premier League is, there's always competition. It's not easy to win with kids. As a Wenger tried with Arsenal, they didn't win anything. He tried it with kids for years and years and years. Arsenal fans were clapping and dancing. Oh, we are playing with academic players. Oh, players that are writing their GCSEs. They play in the morning and write their GCSEs the next day. They used all those young players and didn't win anything. and did not win anything. So, well, I guess you're right. The model of Clear Lake and Blueco is to sign young players, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds. But the point is, can you win doing it that way? Especially when this is meant to be the sixth window. This is the sixth window under this Clear Lake ownership. And we're told that by the fourth window, Chelsea will begin to compete. That take your time, as in bear with us. The first to the fourth to the third window, we'll be signing these young players. We'll coming through. By the fourth window, we'll go all out and sign players. And then there was the excuse of no Champions League football, money can't be spent, and then we've got Champions League, and we're still sort of doing the same thing. You have to fight Man City. You have to fight Liverpool. Liverpool are going all are going all in or going all out for Florian Wirtz. are going all in for Florian Wirtz. He's a special player in addition to Salah. Sorry, in addition to Salah. So everyone is talking up. Look at Man City that they're going for Nori, the Wolves left back. They're going for Ryan Cherki from Lyon. So everyone is stocking up, making themselves difficult to beat. So whereas if we didn't push hard for Tony when it was confirmed he wanted to leave Brentford, secondly Osimhen would have broken our wage structure. Yeah, didn't push hard for Ivan Tony. Um, I can't understand why that didn't happen. And then for Victor Osimhen, yeah, wage structure. So it's the same point I'm making. First off, the two things I want to say about Victor Osimhen. First off, there's this thing that people are trying to sell, like Victor Osimhen is one of those players that he's high, he earns the highest salary in world football. His demands are just too crazy. And that is simply not true. It's simply not true. Victor Osimhen's salary is I think £10 million a year. Harry Kane is on I think 20 odd million a year. Lewandowski is on 33 million a year. Haaland is on 27 million a year. So obviously it's not the highest. And when you take away tax, it's about 190 something thousand pounds a week. And another point again with Victor Osimhen is usually when a striker wants to move from one club to the other, the salary they usually request for at least an increase of their salary, most times double of their salary. So how the salary is double. Let's say any 100,000, they want to get 200,000. Well, Osimhen wanted to just earn what he was earning at Napoli. But the whole PR that the club has put out is kind of like, oh, Osimhen was demanding salary that was just so crazy, maybe £500,000 a week, £400,000 a week. And that was simply not true. So enough of the PR business from Clearlake and Blueco. Even if we don't want to sign Victor Osimhen, that's fine. Get someone in that can come and perform day one. So Osimhen would have broken our wage structure. That's fine. I understand what you're saying, Wera. But the truth is, if you want to win, that's how football is. Unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, if you want to win, you must spend the big bucks. That is the truth. That is the truth. To win, you must spend the big bucks. If you want to be an okay team, every season you battle for top four, you get top four, and then that is like a trophy to you. You celebrate every season. You're excited about finishing top four. Then okay, keep going on with how you paying your players. That's fine. But if your objective at some point is to compete for league titles and to keep your best players in-house, then you have to pay top pound. That's how it is. Because even these players you're talking about, like a Palmer, at some point, if Chelsea doesn't win the Champions League at some point, he'll want to leave to a club that will win Champions League. And if clearly Capital or whatever don't want to refuse to pay him what he deserves at that point in time and sell him, then it's back to the same cycle. It will be back to the same cycle. They'll look for maybe another Manchester City academy player, and sign, and then do the same thing, and Chelsea will be going around and round and round in circles. So Ekitike and Delap were our initial targets, so hoping for a Gyökeres because we're never going to enter a bidding war after Caicedo transfer brought us too close to financial fair play. Initial targets, or the initial, I'm not quite sure that Ekitike was the initial target, but financial fair play and see, what could even bring you into problem with financial fair play? It's not just when you sign one player and pay the player, let's say £200,000 a week. Sometimes it can happen when you sign 6 or 7 players and you pay each of them, let's say £80,000 a week. That could also affect how you earn. So you have to decide, do I spend on one quality player that can come in and have instant impact on the team? Or do I sign 3, 4, 5 players and hoping that one of them will come good? And then out of the remaining 4, maybe I have to loan out the other three while I still pay most of their wages. So these are things that we have to understand. So I'll start from the top again. What do we think about Maignan coming in as Chelsea's goalkeeper? Because reports are, according to Fabrizio Romano, that Chelsea are in talks with AC Milan and are looking to sign, Maignan as the new Chelsea goalkeeper. What are your thoughts on him? What are your thoughts on that? So for me, my thoughts on Maignan is, for me, he comes in instantly and brings that leadership, and immediately he's an upgrade on your Sanchez and your Philip Jorgensen. Instantly, he's an upgrade on them. And for me, what that would mean is Sanchez would have to be sold. He would have to be sold, So, and so maybe does it mean Petrovic comes in to be a number two, or does it mean Mike Penders coming to be a number two? For me, I don't want Mike Penders to come in to be a number two. What I want is, if he's unable to play for Chelsea, that's if Maignan is signed, probably he should then be loaned back to Ghent or loaned to Strasbourg while you recall Peter Petrovic from Strasbourg and sell him off. So that's what I think. So whereas we didn't have the right mindset of finding the manager before deciding that was signings to make that fits the manager's philosophy. Well, that's another thing to discuss, Well, I'll come to that topic. I'll come to that discussion a bit with that, but just big film points. And then Jadon Sancho, apparently he will be heading back to Manchester United as Chelsea and his team were unable to meet or agree on his wage demands. Reports where Chelsea were demanding that Jadon Sancho take a pay cut, a significant pay cut, to reduce his £250,000 a week salary. Maybe they're looking to place him on the same level as Cole Palmer or slightly below. And possibly he didn't quite accept that. But the truth is, if he goes back to Manchester United, I don't think they would want to play him there. I think they would much rather sell him off to an European club, maybe Dortmund. But even at Dortmund, I don't think Dortmund would match his salary because you don't have as much money as you have in the Premier League in the German Bundesliga. So that's it. And it's a bit, what I say, sad is not the right word, but a bit disappointing because I think Jadon Sancho is a different kind of winger. He brings something different, from Noni Madueke or Pedro Neto. He has something different that usually would help Chelsea unlock low blocks. But if they can't come to an agreement in terms of wages, then I guess he has to go. So this wages thing, at some point, the club would realize that, or should realize that not every player is not on the same level. So you can't be saying everyone will fall under the same sort of wage structure. But let's see how that goes. I see Maignan as a red flag because he wanted to leave Milan because France national team manager told him it'd be hard to stay in his plans without Champions League. I don't see that as a red flag. I don't see that as a red flag because every top player wants to play in the Champions League. That is, and that's why for me I'm a bit disappointed because Chelsea fought for this Champions League spot. We got this Champions League spot, a club in London as well, a top club that usually performs well in Europe. Now you're in Champions League. Now you have that thing that you could use to attract a lot of players, but you're not doing it. You're still holding on to your old model as if you didn't qualify for a Champions League. That's frustrating to me because if Manchester United had won that Europa League and qualified for the Champions League, the way they would have invested in their team would have been more than Mbeumo and Konya for sure. But so Maignan has declined in performances of late, while Donnarumma, the keeper that replaced blossomed outside of Italy. Oh well, Donnarumma, obviously no one can get Donnarumma because if Chelsea, has cold feet in regards to paying someone £200,000, then you can't even dream of getting Donnarumma. For sure, you can't dream of getting Donnarumma. So Maignan, he declined, but isn't he still better than Sanchez? If he's declined, he's still better than Sanchez by far. By far, he's still better than Sanchez. And I think possibly they may want to sign him to a short-term deal, maybe 2 years or 3 years. He's 29 years old, and then he could be that stopgap, for 3 years while what do you call it? While Mike Penders improves, as in matures a bit, and comes on to take over from him. So, so that's how I see it. And then again, if the club is waiting for opportunities like Mike Maignan, you have to deal with it. Because the very, very top goalkeepers, Mike Maignan is one of the top ones, but the absolute top ones will always be tied to their contract. And to bring them out of it, you have to pay serious top money to get them out of it. And if you're not willing to do that, that's it. So, but for me, I just want an improvement on Robert Sanchez, and I think Mike Maignan is an improvement on Robert Sanchez for sure. So, so I'll take Mike Maignan at this point, because who else are you going to get? Diogo Costa, his buyout clause is what it is. Chelsea's not going to pay it. Of course, Edison is not going to leave Man City. Alisson is not going to leave Liverpool. So who is possibly you're thinking about the Espanyol goalkeeper? Maybe you want to try that. Let's see. So it's not hard to upgrade on Sanchez, but it's an upgrade on Sanchez that is way above Sanchez. So for me, he comes in and let's see what he can do. Because I do not want to see Sanchez and Jorgensen in goal again. And in fact, for me, the main area that Chelsea should have focused on is that number 9 position, is that striking position. But for whatever reason, we got in the lap. Let's take with the lap, and let's see if the Mike Maignan deal will come through. For me, I'm really comfortable with having Mike Maignan in the building, because Chelsea, either when they're looking for 26 players beyond 26 years old, they usually want to go for players at the last year of their contract or free agents. So that's what you get with the Mike Maignan. That's what you get. Because if you want to pay top dollar, not just in transfer fee, but in salary, then you can then get all those Diogo Costas and those top goalkeepers. Otherwise, you will not be able to. Then you have to make deals like a Mike Maignan. You have to make those sort of deals. That's the way I see it with respect to that. So, Wira, if I could ask you, suggest a couple of names of goalkeepers that you would want at Chelsea instead of Maignan. The links to Maignan is just fluff to me, because there's no guarantee about the future of Petrovic and Kepa. We have unloaded with keepers right now. Bournemouth are looking to keep Kepa, and then Petrovic. Let's see what happens to him. If they're going to call him back or they'll extend his loan. But wait, I want to ask you, what would you want the club to do with respect to goalkeepers? Do you want Petrovic to come back and be the number one? Do you want Penders to be the number one? Do you want Kepa to come back and be the number one? Or you want Robert Sanchez? What do you want to happen? Or do you know, can you suggest any other name, in terms of goalkeepers, apart from Mike Maignan, since you don't rate him? Which goalkeeper would you suggest that the club go for? What goalkeeper would you suggest that the club go for? Which goalkeepers would you suggest? So that's why I say I look at this Maignan deal and say it could be a very good one. Could be a very good one. He's won titles in France. He's won a title at AC Milan, won the Scudetto in Italy there. So he brings that sort of winning gravitas with him to Chelsea. So if not him, who are you getting? You're not getting Jano Black. Jano Black from Atletico Madrid. You're not getting him. You're not getting Diogo Costa as well. You're not going to get him. You're not going to get Costa. You're just not going to get it. If the club chooses to stick to its wage structure, then certain players will just be out of your reach. If you can't pay a striker that's contributed 47 goals, contributes 47 goals a season, as in this season, if you can't pay him £195,000, can you pay a goalkeeper 200 plus thousand pounds? I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure because I'm sure Diego Costa will be earning a lot of money. Jan Oblak will be earning a lot of money. So I'm not sure that these directors will be willing to get these goalkeepers. For me, I will be happy with Diego Costa because he's a top quality goalkeeper. But would they be willing to spend that money? Would they be willing to meet wage demands? There was a time at Chelsea when the main thing was getting to an agreement with the club. Oh, is it 30 million we're paying? Is it 40 million we're paying? Agree with the club. And personal terms did not really become any sort of issue. But now personal terms are issues. Someone Morudion, everything was agreed. Suddenly, personal terms became an issue. Victor Osimhen loan agreement agreed with Napoli salary, which became an issue. So if they can pay a striker 190 something thousand pounds, I struggle to see how they pay a goalkeeper more than that. So I had eyes on Diego Costa, but I believe City would chase him down to replace Edison. I have Petrovic as second choice to Costa initially, but I wouldn't mind taking the Atalanta goalkeeper. Well, those are all good choices, but let's see how it shakes down. Let's see if there are further developments with respect to if there are any further development. If there are any further developments with respect to the Maignan deal, if it's still on, it's still going on. Okay. Liverpool now in talks with £110 million forward after Chelsea agreed Hugo Ekitike terms compared to Ronaldo. Tribal football, what I was saying. Okay, Liverpool fighting to sign striker. It's the same old news. Liverpool, do they have the money to spend 109 million on vets and then spend another 80 plus million? I'm not sure. I'm not sure they're able to do that. I'm not sure. So the fees we paid for Jorgensen, Penders, and Sanchez would have gotten us Costa just being cheapskates. Well, that's the running team, isn't it? That's the thing. For every area, trying to be cheap. But the point is, sometimes you can be penny wise and pound foolish because you've signed lots of goalkeepers. Like you have the guy that was on loan to Barnsley. I've forgotten his name. You've got Mike Penders. You've got Jorgensen. You've got Sanchez. You've got Kepa. Although let's say Kepa was from Roman's era, but you still got Kepa. And then you're paying this, even if you're paying them £50,000 a week each. So when you get to the four of them, that means you're paying £200,000 a week on salaries for four goalkeepers that you're not using, and you don't seem to have plans for them. So that is the thing. So sometimes you signing lots and lots of players doesn't give you more value. Sometimes just signing one marquee signing can come in and make a lot of difference to your team and just turn the mentality in your team around. Well, Kelleher, that's what I say. These directors, there's something wrong with them. Even Ryan Cherky was an opportunistic deal that you would have said, who is within the sort of deals that the club usually would make. Young, he's 21 years old, so he's under the whole 24 years sort of requirement. And then his wages, of course, way, way low, relatively. So that's someone that you would have signed to come in and be a Sancho replacement or an Google replacement, and someone to give some competition to Palmer. Because Palmer is very good, Chelsea's most important player, but you still need someone to compete with him or replace him sometimes when he's tired, injured, or something, or suspended. You need someone to come in and do a job. But the directors, they don't really look at things that way. They don't really look at things that way. So what is Gary Neville saying? Gary Neville called for Chelsea to sign another striker after signing the lap. Of course, they have to. They have to sign another striker. But the thing is, who is the striker that they're going to sign? Is it Hugo Ekitike? Are you going to spend 84 million on Ekitike? Is he at that level? I don't think he's at a level. I don't think he's yet at that level where you pay 84 million pounds for him. But that's what these directors do. Are you 21 years? Are you 22 years? Yeah, we're going to sign you. So for me, let's hope he comes good. If he's signed, let's hope the lab comes good. If his medical is complete. But for me, I can't afford to write off another season. I don't know about other Chelsea fans, but I don't want to write off another season. I don't want to say, oh, this team is so young, let's leave them, let's give them another opportunity to play. No, let's get another 2 or 3 years to come good. No. We just need keepers that need to fight for their spot in their national team. Look how long Mendy and Kepa lasted. They were undisputed and regular for their country. That's a fair point, and that goes for the entire team. There was a time in Chelsea's history when you have most of the players in the team were captains of their national team. Balak, you had Terry, you had Drogba, you had Mikel. So you had lots of captains on the team, Whitman and Czech as well. And you had a lot of leaders on the team. But for me, I feel while the wage structure is what it is, at some point you should be able to look at to say, this player is so special, he can make immediate impact in this team, make a lot of difference for this team, provide leadership for this team. So what we're going to do is we are going to, sign this player, pay him what he deserves, and let him help push the team forward. Yeah. So of course, you have to perform because hopefully Maignan isn't coming to us just because he wants to be part of a UCL contending club, but not bothered about actually achieving silverware. Of course, you have to be good. Even if Deschamps has said you need to be in a Champions League side, if you're in that Champions League side and not performing, that still means you will not be selected. That still means someone like Deschamps will not select you. So I think if he's coming, he's going to come in and give his best. But I think he's better than all the options we have at the minute at the club, except if we decide that, okay, Petrovic or Mike Penders, we're going to give you the starting, shirt at the club. But the way it's safe right now, it's almost like the sporting directors don't know what to do with the goalkeepers they have, in-house. So that's the issue with that one. So overall, Sancho gone, goodbye. That means maybe Chelsea possibly will be looking at Gittins again. Actually, a red flag for most fans with regards to Maignan links is that Onana left Italy to then struggle. For me, I don't agree with that. I don't really see this league thing as an issue because when Onana was leaving Italy, I said it. People were talking about how good he is on the ball. He's so good on the ball. He takes so many risks on the ball. For me, I was looking at him. I said, I don't quite rate Onana. He's not that good. I said this. I said, Onana isn't that good. He's good with his feet, how he passes, he dribbles, he takes risks. I said, that's not the primary function of a goalkeeper. I'm looking at you making saves. I'm looking at you commanding your box. What I'm looking for, is for you to be brave, to you're brave and you rush out and get to the ball at the feet of a striker. That's what I look for in the goalkeeper, shot stopping, not how good you are with your feet. How a goalkeeper being good with his feet is just a plus. It's not the main thing. So I never really rated Onana. I never rated him. So I wasn't shocked that he struggled. Obviously, I wasn't thinking that it would be this bad, but I wasn't shocked that he came to the Premier League. He has come to the Premier League and he struggled really badly. No, it didn't shock me. It didn't shock me. So for me, this league thing of Italy, of the Italian league, German league, I think sometimes one is how the players are used, like Lukaku. Everyone sort of doesn't like. What do you think Maignan is approaching the same phase the year was nearing his final season at Manchester United? Um, I don't think so. I don't think so. And so, but for me, what I feel is this should be there should be a plan. But for me, I feel Mike Pender should be Chelsea's number one in the next 3 years at most. At the very most, Mike Pender should be Chelsea number one, by in 3 years' time. Because he's got the height, he's already proven himself. But some people may say he's too young, he's 19 or 20, he's too young, maybe. But I think maybe you bring in your Mike Maignan, give him a 2 to 3 years contract, and then by the time the 3 year contract is up, Mike Penders is ready to come in and fill in that position. So because let's still face it, I've said it before, Chelsea will not go out there and sign those top goalkeepers, those like the best of the best of the best, because one, you can't afford, they just won't pay their salaries. Mike Maignan, I think you can say he's top 6, top 7 goalkeeper. I think that my opinion is where I think he is. So if you can get one of the top 6 goalkeepers in Europe, I think that's fair. Someone that can come in, do that job for you, do a good job for you, and then by the time his contract is up, you have a young Penders coming in, or rather a more mature Penders coming in to take that spot. So that's how I see that goalkeeping, that goalkeeping situation. And then you talk about Bino Gittins. For me, I don't really see that need. Maybe because for me, I'm just looking at to say you need to get your striking, you need to get your striker right. You need to get that number 9 right. Bino Gittins, I'm not really overly crazy about Bino Gittins. A lot of people are. For me, I would have said you have your Madueke, you have your Neto. No one knows when Modric is coming back. Tyreek George is there. You use these players in there. But some people love Bino Gittins. There's talk of Rafael Leao. Let's see anyone they're able to get. But Chelsea's problem has not been wingers. The problem has been strikers. And that's where I felt Chelsea should have, spent or invested the most this season, especially when you have Champions League, so no more excuses as to, a sense of revenue. Should have gone out there and got the top strikers, in the building. That's the way I look at it. So at this point, I've come to the end of this stream. Thank everyone for watching. Thank everyone for who has dropped their comments in the chat. Really do appreciate it. And I'll see you on yet another video like this. So stay well and stay blessed.